reason number 33 to get a Nissan, the cold. Because winter isn't done with us yet. Good thing the 2026 Nissan Rogue was built to conquer all conditions. With intelligent all-wheel drive, standard heated front seats, heated steering wheel, and heated mirrors, you can leave the worst of winter out in the cold. Lease the 2026 Nissan Rogue S starting at 0.4% for up to 36 months. Includes a 0.5% loyalty rebate for qualifying Nissan customers. Until March 2nd on approved credit. Conditions apply. Details at Nissan.
Welcome back to the Elias Macko Show and our In Transit for this Tuesday. Now, listen, I have always been a fan of car sharing, and I'm talking about real car sharing. I'm not talking about ordering an Uber. That's not car sharing. That's ride hailing. Car sharing is sharing vehicles with other people. In this city, we've got one major player, Communauto. Some of you may remember Car2Go, and I absolutely adored Car2Go. Do you remember those little smart cars, the white and blue smart cars that would zip across the city? I loved those vehicles. It was quite successful in Montreal. We lost Car2Go in this city because the parent company decided to leave all of North America because it wasn't working in the rest of North America. And they're like, okay, Montreal, even though it's working there, we got to leave all of North America. So we ended up losing out on Car2Go. We have Communauto. I know people love their Communauto service. I have a membership, by the way. I will use it time and time, even though I own a car. There are moments where it makes sense. And for many, Communauto has been a revolutionary car-sharing service. It allows them to get around the city easily and effectively. It allows easy rentals, by the way, over the weekend. Let's say you want to plan a trip as well. It's not just for short trips. You can use it for a whole bunch of things. Based in Montreal, the company operates in 15 Canadian cities, as well as in Paris, France, and a service that's meant to be hassle-free and without strings attached. But it seems for one Montrealer, that is not the case. Lisa Delphin recently received a hefty invoice, $1,000 in fact, for parking tickets in a spot that she had regularly been parking in. Some of the tickets were from very long ago. Let's find out more about her story. Lisa joins us now on the line. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Hi, good morning.
Morning. So first things first, let's just talk about Communauto and put aside your recent issues here and your woes. If you could tell our listeners why you use Communauto, how long you've been a member, and what you think generally of the service.
Yeah, absolutely. So during the pandemic, I sold my car. And as of January 2022, I started using the service. And like many other users, I thought it was great. It's a great way to get around the city when you need it, or out of the city if you don't have a vehicle.
And so you've been using it since January of 2022. And recently it's turned into not the most pleasant experience. So what's been going on with you and Communauto?
Yeah, so I never had an issue prior to November of 2022 when I received notice of parking tickets that were issued to cars that I had used back in August. So that's a 3-month window that I was unaware of tickets being accumulated, and in an area that I would continuously park at. So I would park at work around 8 or 9 a.m., and the zone where I was parking in would have become restricted at 4 p.m. So it was a reasonable amount of time for another user to pick up the car, and I wouldn't have had a ticket issued to the car if another user had picked it up, which was most of the time. Probably 3/4 of the time somebody else had taken the car, and it was the balance where Communauto would charge the tickets to my account.
Okay, so this is very interesting here because so you were parking in a spot, you were taking your Communauto, and then you'd park it somewhere that when you parked it wasn't illegal, but some hours later it would become illegal. I'm on the right page here?
Exactly, about 6-7 hours later.
Okay, and what is Communauto policy on that end?
So within the contract, it simply stipulates that you can't park in a restricted zone. So at the time that I parked, there was a reasonable amount of time for the zone to become restricted. However, based on the contract, I thought I was not doing anything wrong, essentially. When I inquired about the tickets that accumulated over this length of time, they referred to the contract that refers to a rule book that refers to a hidden FAQ on the website that I would have been responsible for the vehicle until 11:59 p.m. of that day.
Gotcha. Now, so listen. At the end of the day, the car that you had rented or you were using with Communauto does end up in a spot where you're going to get a ticket. Now, I imagine if they had told you, like, let's say you get a ticket in that spot, and then, a few days later or a month later or a week later, whatever it is, they tell you, hey, you got this ticket, don't do that again. Maybe you'd be thinking differently on this one. Is part of the issue here that they let you get tons of tickets before letting you know about this?
Yeah, I think there's two sides of it. I think a website FAQ, number one, is not legally binding. It's hidden, and I don't think that they're upfront with their users about their real responsibilities. And number two, it took them 3 months for them to inform me of the first ticket. So of course, if I was unaware that I was doing something wrong and made aware that there was an issue, I would have taken corrective action and have not repeated the same thing over the next 3 months. They also charge a processing fee per ticket that weren't waived. I think $100 was waived out of the $1,000+ that was accumulated in parking tickets for my account.
We're with Lisa Del Fabbro. She's telling us her experience using Communauto and getting dinged with a plethora of tickets. So, Lisa, over $1,000. Obviously, you're in contact with the company. At the end of the day, what have they told you? They'll just eat a fee. That's it? You're on the hook for the charges?
Yeah, so $100 deduction in processing fees. They had zero compassion, despite the many emails and calls that I had made to them to try and come up with a settlement. At this point, I wanted the nightmare to be over. I've asked them to consolidate all charges within the account in which I paid, because I didn't want this stress to continue to affect my well-being, my time throughout these business hours that I'm at work and need to call and try and reconcile, and also a hit to my credit score. So I ended up paying it, and I have in writing that no further tickets would have been charged during the length that I was using the service, only to find out last week that 2 more tickets were charged to the account.
Oh my goodness!
Saying that they missed it.
Okay, so that's the other thing here, right? So for $1,000 to be accumulated in parking tickets, we're talking a dozen or so, right?
Yeah.
A dozen or so tickets, and they only let you know about it well after the fact.
Well after, exactly.
Oh, boy. And I understand why you just have to pay them, right? Like, you don't have a choice because could you fight the tickets, by the way? Could that be an option? Like, will they give you enough data so you could fight the tickets in court?
They will give you a copy of the ticket. However, the city issues them to Communauto. They don't issue it directly to the user of the vehicle. So you actually have no choice unless you would like to take it to small claims court to pay the tickets, and there's no option to fight them with the city.
Okay, so when we're talking about your credit score, this is because Communauto would come after you in a collections way.
Exactly.
My goodness. I know you ended up paying it, right? So it's a little bit moot, but to the people who are yelling at the radios and saying, you know what, this is your fault. You parked in spots that were going to be illegal, and you can't assume that the car was going to be taken. Keeping that in mind, what do you think a more fair, reasonable resolution would have been?
I think that the responsibility of the vehicle being under you until 11:59 p.m. should have been more clear. It should be written in the contract and not hidden in their FAQs online. Mm-hmm. A reasonable amount of time to inform the user that there's an issue is also something. But at the same time, we're in Montreal. Like, name me a street that's not restricted at some point, right?
Yeah, that's right. Especially from April to November, right? Especially during the street cleaning months.
Exactly.
Lisa, listen, I like I said, I am a Communauto member. I still have a membership, right? So I get their emails. One thing I will say is they're constantly sending out emails admonishing users for using their service wrong. You use the brushes wrong in the car. You use the cards that are in the car wrong to pay for the gas. You parked on the snow improperly. And part of me, like, after the 90th email telling users that they were doing things wrong, part of me says, no, after once or twice, okay, the users can be at fault. But when you have to constantly remind your users how to use it properly, perhaps it's your service that has the problems, which is why I'm sort of, I sort of feel for you in a certain situation. It's not just with the parking tickets. They have a system that's set up that is not as user-friendly as it could be. Are you going to stay a member, Lisa, at the end of the day?
Absolutely not.
All right. And so what? So without Communauto, what are you going to do? Get a new car?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, public transit in the city is great. I definitely make my way around without, any real issues, especially an issue like this. To me, it's not worth it. I feel like their business practices are completely unreasonable, and their lack of efficient processes within their organization is going to cost their users a lot of money at the end of the day. And to me, it's not worth it.
Lisa, we're going to have to leave it there. I guess this is a good story for everyone who wants or is using Communauto to keep in their mind when they're parking their cars. We did reach out to Communauto for comment, but have not received a response from them. Lisa, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
That's Lisa Del Fabbro with her story of using Communauto.